Okay, so hi Stacey, welcome along to the golf community. It's great to have you here.
Hey, it's good to be here.
Yeah, thanks. So where are you based at the moment?
Recently moved down to Tauranga, in June.
Very nice, very nice. And before there you were in Wainui?
No, I was South Auckland, so I was Waiuku.
Waiuku, that's right.
Yeah, and out at the airport at Daycase, yeah.
Nice, okay. So let's start. You've had a really interesting golf journey, starting from the age of 4 by the looks of it. So tell us your story.
I started playing with Dad when he was a shift worker, so often on the weekends he would go and play golf, and then and if he had an evening in that, he would go and play, and I'd get to go along. And I think most of the time I just ride on the trundler and pick flowers. And I remember, because it was at the army camp, and there was those locust trees on the side of the fairways and stuff. And I remember eating the fruit, and I don't know how much real golf was played, but I was out there and I had some clubs and I had a few hits, and he was pretty patient. And then at age 8, I wasn't allowed to join the club until I was 8. So when I turned 8, I was like, okay, I can join now and I can play. So he joined me up at the golf club, and I went and played. And I think by about 11, I had won the club champs. But I remember this little kind of argument with the women that Dad sort of fought to allow me to play just with the women and not have to play with him all the time. So I remember going out and doing that, and I was just sort of growing up in the game. So I just had loads of people around me that really supported me to be able to play, and I was very lucky. Judy Hayhow being one of those. I don't know if you remember, she used to be part of the Auckland rep team, but she was also her husband Bruce was the manager of the golf club at the time and things like that. So just very, very lucky. And she once a month she got all the junior girls in Auckland. There weren't very many of us, and we'd go and play different golf courses. And what's really cool now is that a lot of those girls, I wouldn't say all because it's not quite all, but we're actually now giving back to the game in some way. So we've become coaches or ambassadors, or some of them are fully qualified, some of them are doing their traineeship, and some of them are playing, or have had influence in the game in other ways. So it's really quite cool to see that, that group of girls coming full circle, and then giving back what we were given.
Share that as well again, I guess, in some of those stories.
So I feel like I was lucky. I was lucky to grow up in the game.
I think you find that a lot of people in any sport, if somebody loves a sport, they're going to nurture you and bring you in and give you as much as they can and as much support. And obviously with Dad there for so long and you being there since you were 4, it was nice to actually see you still carry on and take it through.
So I did have a big break from the game. At about at sort of 18, 19, I went over to the States. I worked in a summer camp, and I was teaching golf in the range there. And I remember ringing Dad and going, I don't want to, and I'd had a look and I was sort of getting to know the culture over there. And I remember ringing him and saying, I don't want to do this. And I had this big long list of reasons of, my argument per se. And he just turned around and he just said, okay, then come home. And it wasn't what I expected, because it was always, I was always doing it for me, and I was always just well supported. I was never pushed. But when I came home, I then felt a bit lost, I think, because obviously that pathway of getting a scholarship into the States wasn't something I wanted anymore. And there weren't that many opportunities for young girls in New Zealand in that sense either. So I sort of bumbled around and played sort of the men's pennants for the Waikato and things like that, for Waikere Golf Club, and did a few things like that. And then I just thought, there's nothing, there's no next step here for me. And so I completely stopped playing for about 10 years. And
in your 20s? Was it?
Early 20s. Yeah. And so I went off and I went into real estate and, I had kids and did all that stuff. And then had a bit of a rough time with a particular employer in real estate. And it took me a wee while to get better from that. And then I said to my husband, I don't want to be in real estate anymore. I think if I could still play, I'd like to go do my traineeship. And he was like, you're crazy, but that's what I've done. So I started off just doing the Gateway program because I wasn't sure if I could play, but there was another opportunity within coaching without doing the traineeship to still teach. And I think that Gateway program is brilliant for those that are passionate about the game and want to give back.
Programs, Stacey?
It allows you to be a PGA coach and be supported by the PGA in terms of your education. It means that you can work for a full PGA member and support their programs. It means that you can work in the industry as a coach, but you're not obviously going to be fully qualified, so you won't have all of the information available for you around club fitting and repairs and things like that, or even just a really in-depth understanding of some of the principles around coaching and the different technical bits, but certainly enough to be an advocate of the game as a coach and be out there teaching young people and people who are getting started and just have the support and some of the information to be able to do that without actually having to play at a high level to do so.
Right. Okay. So after you gave up, you came back, you did the Gateway.
Yeah, Gateway program.
And then what did you do from there?
And then I managed to get my handicap back and I was playing all right. So I thought, I can apply. So I did that and started my traineeship in 2020. So I'm year 2 at the moment and I am still struggling with the playing a little bit. I've had a number of injuries just from, I think, how much playing we actually do. So that's kind of holding me back a little bit at the moment, but I'll get there. At the moment, I'm off, I'm out, I can't play. I broke my hand and
wow.
Yeah. So I've got a little bit of a recovery to go there and then hopefully I'll be back next year to finish that off. Yeah.
Okay, so can you put that on pause for a little while?
Yeah.
Oh, that's good. That's good because you kind of need your hand, right?
A little bit, yeah. I might have to go join the All Abilities golf or something.
Well, they'd love you there too. They'd love you.
Right. A little bit of a taste of what it's like to have to modify things and but no, I'm sure I'll get there.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, you're passionate about the game, right? And so it's going to, and you're still young.
Yeah. Actually, to be honest, I remember saying to my coach when I went back from, I said, I'm too old to play. I'm too old to play like that now.
Well, fortunately, the good thing about golf is that we've got, it's a game for all ages, right?
Oh, absolutely. But I just thought, at that level, I thought I'll never get back there. I'm too old.
Yeah.
Oh, that was such a strange mindset when I look back on it now. But yeah.
And I guess it's because we kind of see elite sport as a window of certain ages if we're actually really going to excel. But I guess because then we start breaking down a little bit, right? And we have other commitments as well, like kids and work and responsibilities.
Yes, yeah, exactly. And then, you kind of just, you look at it now and you see people come through and they go, I want to get down to a 5 handicap or whatever. And as a coach, you're like, yeah, absolutely. But, as a player myself, at one stage, I didn't think I could do it. So it's interesting. Yeah, I know how wrong I was, but that's okay.
What sort of handicap do you need to go into some of these programs and things?
You don't need a handicap for the Gateway program. So I've got when I left Auckland, I had a futures coach, and she has taken on, gone through the Gateway program after I've left, and to be able to carry on working with the kids that were out there. So that's really, that's really cool. So no, there's no handicap requirements for that. The program is there and the support is there to not necessarily be a top golfer to do it. But I think if you're a good teacher and you understand how to work with people, it's, you can do it. In order to do the traineeship to go down that pathway, I think possibly for the girls, the handicap of 5.7 or something, or I can't remember exactly, but there is a handicap sort of indicator.
Right.
They may be looking at changing it. And for the guys, I think maybe somewhere around a 3 handicap or less.
Right.
And then there's the playing standard that, so the handicap kind of is your entry requirement. But then when you actually get in and you start playing, there's a playing standard of 6.75. So that's not handicap, that's just over the par of the course, and that's your average over 16 rounds.
Okay.
And the guys, I think, must be 3.75, or it could be 4.75. Sorry, I'm not sure, but we just, but that's, if you want to do that, then there is certainly at this stage a playing requirement.
Right. I guess that's when it comes into the golf professional. I guess they sort of, you assume that they would have a pretty good handicap.
Yeah, I mean, we do assume these things. So, at the end of the day, we all get old at some point and can't do that anymore. So it's, it's an interesting space for sure. You look at sort of other sports, you don't have necessarily your great coaches in some of our other sports certainly haven't played at high levels all the time. Quite often our really good players aren't particularly good coaches, and vice versa. So it's interesting.
Yeah, and I guess we've often sort of said, in any sport, the best players aren't always the best coaches, but you can have parents coaching kids in any sport. But I think when it comes to golf, it becomes, quite technical. I mean, when you learn right from the beginning, probably like any sport, you've got to really get those basics down pat, because if somebody's just teaching you kind of basics without really knowing what they're talking about or something like that, it's probably you'd pick up some bad habits to start with. And
but I think at some point, I mean, you just got to pick up the club and go and play. There's a real mentality around actually having to learn to play the game before you can go and play the game. And it's what I really love about the She Loves Golf programs, is that it's really about actually on-course experiences and getting out there. And then if you do decide that, hey, I want to get the ball off the ground, or I want to stop using a tee, or I actually really enjoy this and I'd like to have less than 13 shots on a hole or whatever, then sure, some coaching would definitely help. But I look at, the futures pathway around parents teaching their kids, and there are some really cool tools and resources out there to help parents now, and they don't have to be qualified coaches to support their kids. I know Dad taught me. I had Gillian Bannon was my first coach. I remember having a few lessons with her, and a few other coaches along the way, but Dad was predominantly my main coach and main influencer of the game. So I think there's a real value of having parents involved with their kids in the game,
and then just getting out and giving it a go.
Go and play. There's, I see women all the time, they're like, oh no, I need to learn to hit before I can go and play. I'm like, honestly, just play, just get out. But it's hard. There's real barriers to getting out there and playing on the course, and because we have this perception, and it is a technical sport. It is really hard, but that doesn't mean that you can't just go and play. I mean, if you shoot 100 for 9 holes, nobody actually cares. Like, are you having fun? Are you enjoying it? Just go do it,
Yeah. And then that's the beauty of the She Loves Golf and just getting out and giving it a go. It's just get out there, have fun, see if you like it. And I really like the social aspect of it. Actually, I love the social aspect of golf. I like, you can just book. Well, normally you can just book with, and I'll normally try and find another woman, even if it's in a foursome. I'll go with my husband, but try and find another couple or something like that. And it's always nice and refreshing to meet new people all the time.
Yeah, it's interesting that you say that. So obviously you're quite passionate about the game, and you've been playing for a little while. I know you're still I think you still class yourself as a beginner. Absolutely. I think I read that somewhere. But it is interesting you say about wanting other females to play with, even in your group, if you go out with your husband. And that was one of the big things that I picked up with Mum learning to play was, she said, like, it's great going out with Dad, but he's constantly telling me what to do, and it kind of frustrates me. And I remember sort of saying to her, well, would it be better if there was other women who are learning to play, and then you could go and play with other women? And she was like, oh, that would be amazing. And the social aspect, I think, particularly, I mean, it's there for the guys too, but they have a different, it's that kind of rah and, oh, I bet you can't get that in, or $1 a hole, and all that sort of, that real betting kind of competitive psyche comes into the game a lot. Whereas with the girls, it's not like that. It's literally just the chatter down the fairway that they enjoy, and the encouragement of a good shot, and having someone who understands that for her that was a really good shot. And I think there is a massive need for that support, that social support, when getting women into the game.
Yeah, and we see it a lot when, just like the other day, when Golf New Zealand put up a post about sort of, and next week we can probably start playing 4 balls with others again. And there was a whole lot of people saying, look, I'd love to start playing with somebody new. And, there's a lot of women that are out there trying to get into the game, get some encouragement and meet new people. So the She Loves Golf is great. So you're a passionate advocate for women and youth. So tell me, why did you pick this group other than being a woman? So why did you sort of pick this group, and what are you doing there?
With teaching women?
Yeah, and youth.
Yeah, originally, like, being in South Auckland, when I kind of said to my husband, I want to go back to this, the drive was really around growing the game. I know that's kind of like a taboo kind of slogan these days, but actually getting more youth playing, because I noticed that in South Auckland, a lot of what was available for kids in terms of events and things had just completely disappeared over the years. And that'll just be because there were really passionate people there doing stuff, and they've gotten older and stopped doing it, and it just fell away. And so my main thing was I was wanting to get in and teach kids. And so that's what I was doing. I was running junior programs and holiday programs and events for kids where they could get out on the course, and working in with NZ Golf and their family team golf and things like that. And just kind of getting more kids to experience golf, going into schools and doing that sort of stuff. And then and I was really lucky actually that one of my mentors is Stuart Thompson, who he worked in the first tee and has worked thousands and thousands of kids growing the game. And it was also in South Auckland. So I was really lucky to be able to learn from him, and he's very generous with his time and his resources, and his I could go and watch any session that I wanted to go and watch, and he was brilliant. So I was very lucky. And then I went from that to Mum sort of said, hey, you're going back to golf, and that's really cool, and Dad plays, and I want to learn to play too. And I thought, oh well, you probably need to find a coach just to help you, because it's probably not going to be that comfortable learning from Dad. And she said, I'm looking at one. I was like, oh no, I haven't taught adults, I don't know that I want to do that. And it was just through she was like, no, come on, we'll give it a go. I said, okay, all right then. And so I had done TPI, which is the Trailers Performance Institute, and some of the biomechanics and things. So it wasn't like I didn't know anything, but I was still fairly new. And so we went on that journey, and then just through that kind of realized, all of those, I don't really see it because I grew up in the game, and the golf course is like a home. But when she would go to the golf club and she'd go, well, who do I talk to and how do I do that? And what do I say? And what if I say the wrong thing? And what am I supposed to wear? And what if I'm not wearing the right thing? What if someone says something to me? I don't know what club to use. What if I break one of the rules? And, our rule book's how thick. And just realizing how tough that is. And there was almost anxiety around it, even just walking into the club, and like she would get really tense on like, where do I go, and who do I speak to? And so I kind of realized that there was learning to play the game is more than just learning the skills as a golfer. And so as a coach, I think it's influenced me hugely in terms of what I do when a new player comes in. It's not just about the golf swing. There'll be conversations in there around, how are you getting on with playing, and have you met, these other people, and are you aware of, these, and just like kind of try and take them on that journey and ease that a bit, because it's really tough. And being there at the club when they first come in, so that they know they're looking, I know they're looking for me, but I'm actually there, rather than having them wait, or sometimes they turn up way too early. But just things like that, just being aware of how difficult it is for them.
Yeah, and I think that's amazing too, that you've been able to see that with your mum and your mum's anxiety, and being able to go, well, look, there's a really great opportunity to try and encourage other women into golf and ease those fears.
Yeah, so we started off with it was just mum, and then we started doing some like social range sessions with other women, and kind of grew. I've got a social media group for our girls where they're all together. And then what I noticed is that they were coming to the range and they were enjoying that social time, and we'd go have a coffee afterwards, but they weren't going out on the course.
Right.
So from that, I then introduced once a month that we would go and play a different course in Auckland, and I'd organise it all for them. And it didn't matter, I would always ring the shop and say, look, they're brand new, so can we just have a little bit, of when are you quiet? When's there not going to be too many people around? They didn't have to play every hole. They didn't have to play the whole 9 holes. They could play 4 or 6, or they could, play alternate shots with a friend. There was no real rules around that. It was participation. It was getting them there and getting them to have fun on the course. So, that sort of started off probably about 2 years ago. Great. And it just grew and grew and grew. And then I realized that sort of I couldn't really keep it up anymore, because my coaching business was getting busier and busier. And so one of the girls who was one of our beginner golfers now organizes those games for the girls. So they've kind of, there's kind of been, and there's other leaders within the group that will organize trips away with each other and things. And it's really it's kind of come into its own, which is really, really cool. Yeah.
Yeah, that's fantastic. And I think, that's the fun of it, isn't it? That's like, you can go and meet other people and groups like yours, groups like the She Loves Golf, and then you find a couple of people or a few women that you kind of click with, and then you can go, okay, let's go and play this club or this course once a month, or this one or this one or this one. And just have some fun, because there's some absolutely beautiful courses out there, and there's so many of them too, isn't there? You kind of think, I think there's 390 golf courses in New Zealand, something like that.
It's a lot. Yeah, that's a lot.
Too,
yeah. Yeah. So yeah, no, that's kind of, yeah, and so I've just become really passionate about it because I just love it. Like, I actually just love working with women in the game and seeing them improve and seeing them really like kind of grow into their own within that space, because there's so much that they can kind of do. So yeah, it's
Yeah, and I think
exciting.
that's really good too, because like I learnt with my husband, although he couldn't teach me. Like the first time he did it, it didn't work out well, so I never played again. And then I just picked it up this year, and right from the start, we said like, you can't coach me, right? It's not going to happen like that. So I went off and got some lessons. I got 4 lessons, and then just went to the driving range, and just because he's quite competitive, and I think so am I. And so when we play together, it becomes like that, even though he's better than I do. So I really like connecting with women so that I can just relax and just have fun, and it takes the pressure out of it for me. I think I work myself in to my own anxiety playing with him, compared to getting a group of women and just relaxing and having fun. And it doesn't matter, and you just enjoy it, and you probably look up more and enjoy the day.
Yeah, because the other thing I find when you play with golfers is um they're quite can be quite focused, so they're gone. Like,
Yeah.
like they've hit and it's gone twice as far as you, maybe even 3 times, and they've walked off and they're like way up the fairway, and it might be off the side so that you don't hit them, but they're gone.
Yeah.
Whereas when you play with your other girls that are maybe also beginners, you kind of plod. I know I use the word plod, loosely, but in terms of the balls, you can just wander down together, because you might be either side of the fairway, but you'll be in a similar area, and you can just sort of walk up together and hit your ball, and walk up and hit your ball, because you're actually together. And that's what I think makes a big difference, is when you are out playing in that with the women, you're together in that space.
Yeah, and that's nice. That's like part of the Ambrose and things like that when you're first starting. Because I remember when I initially tried to play with him, I would just spank the ball, and I spent my time in the trees throwing the ball out, or just picking it up and just wandering off. And it was kind of spent by myself while he was hitting the ball and having a great time. And I'm like, trying to find my ball amongst.
And then you feel like you're rushing because you feel like you're holding them out. Whereas
Yeah.
you probably spend the same amount of time on the hole, but you've managed to walk together.
Yeah. So the good thing is you can just go, with the Ambrose, you just go pick it up and all come back together or something, and go, okay, well let's have another go, and gaggle and chat about it.
Yeah, exactly. I just watch them sometimes, and they're still talking while they're playing their shot. But that's what it is for them, and then that's the whole thing. And yeah.
Because not everybody's there to shoot their best rounds. When you get together as a group of women, it's probably time away from young kids, stress relief from work, all that kind of stuff, isn't it? Just that connection too. Absolutely, just that connection. So I did see, when it comes to youth, I saw an interesting qualification there. It's the Circle of Courage Youth at Risk. Do you do much with that? I thought that sounded fantastic.
When I worked in the outdoors, so I was in outdoor education for, I think, 5 or 6 years, and I started off just as an outdoor instructor, but ended up in the management side of things, actually teaching staff, on the equipment and things. So through that, I had really massive opportunities, because all that work was mostly with youth. There was the occasional corporate group and bits and pieces, but most of it was with youth. And part of my role towards the end, in the last 2 years that I was there, was actually program delivery and creating programs to meet certain requirements. So a school or organisation would come in and say, we want to get youth leadership out of it, or we want to get we want to get them working together better, or whatever. And so my job was to come up with a program that met those goals. And part of what we did out, because it was with the YMCA, what we did work a lot with kids who had, come from pretty horrible environments or upbringings, or just upbringings that you just wouldn't really wish that on your own children ever. And just how broken they were, and their lack of trust in people, and they're often in really unsettled home environments, that even though they may have been removed from the unsafe environment, they were perhaps in a foster home that was temporary. So that you've got all these kind of emotional issues that go on with that. And so that Circle of Courage program that we did was around how we talk to and support those young people that are going through that trauma, and just kind of often you'd see it with kids, particularly in the camp space, where they call it absconding, where they'd run. So their anxiety levels are so high that their fight and flight response was like on overdrive, and obviously keeping ourselves safe, but then also trying to keep them safe in that environment. So it was really around, how do you talk to those young people, and how do you support them and help them kind of grow and feel like they can operate from a space of courage rather than from fear all the time. And just kind of understanding how much influence you can have over young people, even just with, you might just have that brief moment with them, and it could actually impact their whole life.
Yeah.
And and as adults, I don't think we often realize that. So it could be a negative experience, but it can also be a positive experience. And I think that whole program really kind of opens you up to, it makes you quite vulnerable, but it really opens you up to understanding just that moment that you took to sit on the step and talk to them and try to understand them, they could carry that for the rest of their life.
Absolutely. It could be, very pivotal.
Yeah. So I don't necessarily do work with children like that anymore, but I think I do work a lot now. I often get children with ASD and autism and things like that, and there's some transferable things within that, but I haven't worked with at-risk youth for a while. I don't think there's another term that they use now. I think they've moved on from at-risk in terminology, but that it's something that I think I always just hold with me, especially when children are struggling. Their behaviour for me is always a window of opportunity to understand something that's not right. And often when children do misbehave, they might misbehave in a session. I don't believe they're being naughty. It's an opportunity for me to learn about them.
Yeah, that's fantastic. And I think, it really gives you a broader perspective of coaching in that arena.
Yeah. And I think, where I think sometimes that stuff comes in is, particularly I think with my journey in golf, is it's made me who I am in some ways. I'm a bit of a rule follower, and I certainly have a lot of respect and empathy for others. And I think those are some of the things that the game just teaches you, and it teaches you that resilience. And I remember being disqualified from a tournament because somebody had written my score down. They had transversed the numbers on the hole, so where there was a 5, the next hole had a 6, and it was around the wrong way. And I remember being disqualified, and I've been quite heartbroken about it. But these are just the things that you kind of learn that as you go along in the game. And sometimes things don't always go your way in life, and it's the same thing.
Yeah, definitely.
You can't always control everything that goes on. So I think when I have young people in the sessions, for me, I'm not just teaching them a golf swing, but hopefully they're actually gaining some life skills that they'll carry with them well beyond just the game of golf.
Yeah, because I think there's a lot of resilience and patience and skills that you learn in golf.
And courtesy, like things like shaking hands and actually looking at someone when you shake their hand and taking your hat off at the end, and things, that we learn as sort of your basic rules and manners and courtesies out there they can take with them. Yeah, for sure.
Great, that's awesome. So tell me maybe the highlight of your career
as a golfer. Well, the one story that's popping into my mind at the moment, I'm sure there's many, but is yeah, I mean, I was lucky growing up. I got to travel a lot around the country, and I don't know what's happened to them all, but there used to be sort of all your under 21 events and under 19 match play and stroke play championships, and so I'd often be away doing that sort of stuff. But highlight though, I do remember when I was playing men's pennants for Waikiri, and there was a bit of uproar, I guess, about it because I was female, but it wasn't handicap pennants, it was off the stick, and I was playing off the men's white tee, so there was really no advantage gained at all. And I remember I used to play, I think, about number 5 in the team, and I remember one time turning up to this event, this pennants game, and they had put me in as probably number 2 in the team, and I was like, well, what's going on? Like, I'm not, I haven't all of a sudden gotten better this week, kind of thing. And I think they had intentionally set me up against one of the guys who was quite against women playing in the men's pennants. And I finished the match all square, and he shook my hand and he said, well, if you can play like that, then I really don't have a problem with women playing in the men's pennants.
Wow.
And I think for me, the reason that that's a highlight is because I think it really had a bit of influence on a perspective of people, or that people held. And I don't particularly want to play against men now. It's not, but for me at the time, that was where I was at, and there weren't a lot of opportunities when you were really trying to push yourself out there as a young person and a female. So now I'm more of an advocate for let's get more women playing so that we can have a stronger competition within women, and we don't have to merge across into men's fields to do that. But I think it's I still hold that with me. Definitely. Yeah.
It's a historical moment.
yeah, just to have actually to have been able to use my skill to influence someone.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Powerful.
Yeah.
Powerful. All right. What about just sharing some do's and don'ts, just some simple do's and don'ts that we should probably, as beginners or for the woman out there listening, keep in mind when we are playing?
One thing that I think do's and don'ts, is I think just be aware that, like, when you're playing, often we'll leave our bag a mile away from us. I see it all the time, and they're like, they just stop. I don't know what it is, actually. I haven't really figured it out, but they stop. They leave their bag, and then they walk back 5 or 6 meters, maybe even 10, to their ball with their club, and then they hit their ball, and then they walk all the way back to their bag, and then they start walking again. And I don't know if it's because they're scared they're going to hit their bag or what it is, but like, put it beside your ball, bring it up next to you so it's right there. And same with like where you leave it around the greens, put it somewhere where you're going to walk off to go to the next tee, that can be hard because you don't always know where the next tee is, but just that little bit of forward planning, and it can actually just help, yes, kind of not necessarily speed things up, but make it a bit easier out there.
Yeah.
What else would be probably don't be afraid to ring ahead and find out if there's a dress code at the golf club for beginner women. So if you ring out when you're making your tee booking and just find out, just let them know that you're still new and find out if they've got a dress code, because I know a lot of golf clubs are relaxing the dress code, and particularly for new women coming into the game, and I think it's a good thing. I think that we need to make it more accessible, and at some point they might just say, well, actually now you're playing club golf, so the dress code applies, we want to have that etiquette in place. But you know, a lot of them are quite happy for you to not wear a collared shirt and to wear leggings. So, you know, if that's what you're comfortable playing golf in, and the golf club will allow it, especially when you're still new, then go for it. Like it's absolutely fine. It's kind of, I wish more clubs would advertise it, to be honest, but it's definitely worth asking the question so that when you do turn up, you're feeling comfortable. There's nothing wrong, there's nothing worse than feeling underdressed or overdressed, you know. So
definitely.
Definitely. And just, I think, just ignore the negativity. Like sometimes you'll come to the club and there'll be some person and they've got some comment to make about women being on the course, or I've heard it many times and more times than I actually like, but that we should be home doing housework or something. And it just, it really, it grates me a lot. But I think we've just got to kind of, if you're feeling strong, then put them in their place for sure, because it's not really ideal and it shouldn't happen. But just don't let those sorts of comments put you off the game, because they are a real minority.
And they're probably from the older generation, right? That are not.
In my experience, yes. Yeah. And I sometimes I wonder if they think that it's funny. I'm not sure, but you just kind of think, oh, in this day and age, it's, you know.
I think they're just so set in their ways, some of them, that they probably do. That some may think it's funny, but I don't think you'd say it if you thought. I don't know.
I don't know. It's just something that I hear, and I'm like, oh.
Yeah.
I'm at work on this golf course, for goodness sakes, you know. But yeah, we have and I think the only other thing would be like not all advice is good advice. So when you're out there and people are, you know, often they'll give you tips and pointers, and it really depends, because they're not necessarily trained coaches, and it might not always translate correctly for you. And so sometimes, not all advice is good advice. I've had girls standing on the tee with guys in, you know, having a laugh behind them, kind of heckling them about, oh, show us your swing, girls, and it just, I think it really bothers me. I think it needs to stop. And I think if men are listening to this, then please don't do it. But as women that are going into the game, I think just know that they are a real minority, and just it's good to have other girls around to talk about it, and just ignore them, you know.
Definitely.
It's probably the worst part of getting into the game is just those real minority experiences that you may unfortunately have, and not let it put you off the game, because most people are not like that.
No, that's right. Most people are encouraging, and you know, you definitely find the men are always willing to give you, you know, a little bit of helpful advice.
Yeah. And sometimes it's great, and know that it's coming from a really awesome place.
Yeah.
But sometimes it depends how you interpret it. Yeah.
Yeah. I find that I just say thank you very much, and just let them talk sometimes, and then you kind of decide, oh yeah, that's right. I am moving my head all the time because I'm the world's worst head mover. Like, and it's nice that they just go, oh, you're moving your head a lot, just keep your head down. And it's like, oh, that's a really good reminder, because I know I do it, and then I really focus on it for a little while and kind of get into it. But it's just sometimes they'll go, just a little piece of information, you get sort of go, oh, that's right.
Yeah.
You think about sometimes, isn't there? That's like, you can't think of everything.
No. But honestly, just let some of that stuff go and just go and play, go and enjoy it. And yeah. But it's certainly still an interesting space. Yeah.
Definitely. Absolutely. And it's just great that we can be part of sort of helping it to, helping encourage women and not sort of worry so men. I mean, the men are comfortable in their space, so we just need to be able to bring the woman in to feel just as comfortable.
Yeah, I mean, we do definitely have like beginner men that are like, oh, I wish you'd do something like this for us. They definitely have, and certainly happy to help anybody really that wants help in the game or help getting into the game. I just think the social need for women is so much stronger.
Yeah.
And that's why sort of things like clinics and little group events are becoming more successful in achieving it.
Yeah. And I guess it's sort of as one with so many responsibilities in our day, as well as working and the kids and everything like that. And it is something that we tend to take responsibility for, to be able to have these opportunities where you can just go, okay, once a week for said amount of weeks, this is my time, and I get to go and meet some great people and have a glass of wine and, learn a little bit about golf and hit a few golf balls.
Yeah, which is why like this, 4 holes, 6 holes is great, because that, and obviously when I did my groups in Auckland, they didn't have to play the whole 9, which meant that they could turn up, play 5 holes, and they've got some other commitment to go to. They've had their golf, they've had their social time, because we would always do our coffee first, so that any girls that sort of left through the game had that catch up beforehand. So they've spent an hour and a half at golf, and now they've got other commitments to go off to, but they don't feel challenged or pressured to have to do the whole 9 holes and spend 2 hours on the golf course and then also have coffee, and have, now you've spent 3 hours, that's half of your Sunday gone, and not everybody is fortunate enough to have that much time, especially if they have got kids. So
it's time consuming, isn't it, in golf?
It's all, and the other thing is we've got this perception, because the guys or our partners, husbands, whatever, they go out and the whole Saturday they're at golf. Like they've gone at 7, they teed off at 9, so they traveled there and warmed up, and then they spent 4 or sometimes these days 5 hours on the course playing 18 holes, and then they've gone and had a beer afterwards, and everyone's got this perception that golf has to take all day.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and so it's I guess trying to break that down a bit and just go, it doesn't have to. You can go and play 4 holes. It doesn't, if 3 holes is your jam, then do 3 holes. So it doesn't matter,
And I think that's probably with the girls, they probably like to go, oh, have we had enough? We've had enough. Okay, let's go.
Yeah, let's go have a wine.
That's enough for me today. Wine's great.
Well, it's starting to get really windy and rainy, and I'm getting a bit cold, so can we stop?
Yeah,
why not? Yeah.
We do. It's like, because if we go out with my husband and it's raining, he's like, oh, she'll just finish the 9. And it's like, well, okay, you finish the 9.
Yeah. I'm going to go in.
Yeah.
That's why you've got the other girl with you, eh? That's why you like taking.
Yeah, absolutely. It's like, well, should we go?
You two, off you go.
We'll see you back at the club.
Nice.
Yeah.
It's a good strategy.
Cunning plan. All right. So let's just wrap it up with, what is your favourite course?
Oh, I used to say that Waikiri was my favourite. It still kind of is. But I got the opportunity to play Arrowtown last year.
Oh,
Yeah, that's a really cool course. Yeah, it's really picturesque, and there's a few interesting challenges. You look down the fairway and there's these big rocks. Like, you're like, I could land on those, and it just creates this real challenge, and just such a beautiful part of the country. And yeah, I really enjoyed that course.
nice. Yeah,
I have to say that's up there.
I think I saw a flyover a few weeks ago, and I thought, oh, that's so pretty. And I think it's a girly thing, we go, oh, pretty.
Yeah, it is. It's pretty, but it's really challenging. It's a course that makes you really think. And yeah, it's just such an awesome part of the country. So if anyone gets a chance to go and play that course, I haven't played. To be fair, I haven't played Millbrook or the hills down there. But yeah, that Arrowtown I think is a really neat golf course.
Nice. I'll put that on my list. All right. What about your favourite golf club, or your sort of go-to golf club, or whichever one you like best?
In my bag? Oh, my putter.
Right.
Yeah, definitely my putter. I like other clubs in my bag, but that's definitely one. Yeah, that's my favourite.
It makes all the difference,
It's probably unusual. Most people hate their putter. They hate putting, but no, I'm quite comfortable with a putter in my hand.
Nice. All right. And then what about your favourite golf ball? What are you?
I play with the Titleist Pro V1.
Okay.
I've tried others. I can't change.
Pro V1s too that I need to get rid of for a fundraiser. We should talk.
Have you? Yeah. But I didn't. I did have the opportunity to put my name on them, and I chose not to because I sometimes can end up in some interesting places, and I didn't want to.
Like, Stacey,
what was she doing over here?
She's everywhere. Interesting though. You had a chance to put your name on it.
Yeah.
With Titleist.
Just as part of our traineeship, we when we fill out the form, we can just get them standard, or we can have them printed with our name.
Right.
Yeah. I was like, oh, it could be really quite dangerous. Yeah. No, I don't tend to lose too many balls, but yeah, there'd be the odd one around that you're just like, how did you end up here?
God, those balls go anywhere, don't they?
Oh, it's the ball's fault. That's right. Yeah,
that's right. It couldn't possibly be your fault.
Yeah.
And what about, just to wrap it up, your favourite quote?
Favorite quote, probably be, and I don't know who it belongs to. I'm sorry, or I'm quoting, but is you don't get what you wish for, you get what you work for.
Right. Yeah.
Okay. I think if you really, really want something, you can't just hang out and hope it happens.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, like a great game. It's just you've got to work consistently at it, or anything, right? Anything.
Yeah, and and if you want, you're going to have to give up on some stuff in order to achieve, if you really want it.
Some sacrifice.
Absolutely.
That's awesome. Hey, Stacey, it's been great chatting to you. I've really appreciated you taking your time out just to sort of jump on and talk to some of our listeners and encourage women and youth to play. So all the best are you going to start building up programs in Tauranga?
So based in Fairview now. There'll be a few other courses that I'll do a bit of work at too, but at the moment, mostly at Fairview, which is just south of Kitty.
Right.
And yeah, we've got our women's and youth programs coming through, and yeah, looking forward to a busy summer. Yeah,
definitely. As long as we can all get out.
Yeah. that Auckland border is a bit of a. Well, they say they might release it. They might bring it down for Christmas, maybe, if you.
They really need to, but we won't even talk about that.
if you follow all the rules, maybe.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. So if we want to get hold of you, or we want to sort of find out more about some of your programs, how do people get in touch?
They can just give me a call, or I've got a website. It's just staceykoppensgolf.com.
Okay.
And yeah, just to give me a call, send me an email, join in a program. I will advertise through the NZ Golf website too. So if they're looking at the Futures program or She Loves Golf stuff, when they pop up, they'll be loaded up on there as well. So
great. Awesome.
Yeah.
All right. Well,
hopefully you girls can get out and at least play locally for a while.
Yeah. Well, I think we've managed to organise a couple already. So yeah, like I'm all in. I've got nothing else to do at the moment though, because I can't work. So, and I'm just lucky that I've got golf, because there's not many sports that can play at the moment.
Yeah. Yeah, we've got our youth out at Waiuku running with the kids that were already playing. But yeah, it's pretty strict. It's not like a normal youth program. It's got some, safety measures in place to keep everyone separated, which is not how kids kind of operate. So it's interesting, but it is nice to see that you girls can, you can get your girls together and go and play, and not just with one double and things like that.
Yeah, we're broadening.
Hopefully that will continue.
And it's exciting to be able to get out and meet some new people too. That's what I love about golf.
Yeah. Are they going to run, do you know, some She Loves Golf events, or?
Yeah, they have. I assume so. It was just encouraging people to sort of connect, I think, at this stage. But I'm sure they will at some stage. Yeah.
And golf clubs are letting green fee players in now, or not?
I think as of next week they can. You still have to be an affiliate at this stage.
Yeah.
So you can't be just walking off the street at the moment. But
yeah, fair enough. Could you imagine how busy they'd be?
Yeah.
Being like the only sport they can play.
Yeah, exactly. And I think even with our club up here in Whangaparua, and on the weekends it's just chocker, with just anybody trying to play. So
yeah. What line of work are you in outside of? Well, obviously you're doing this, but
secondhand golf. So we recycle golf balls from waterways.
Yeah.
And help clean up waterways, which is pretty cool. Which is sort of, I got that through just starting to play golf this year, and then it was like I saw a golf job come up, and I'm like, oh, I play golf now. Can I do that? And they're like, yeah. So
that's so cool. You're like, I'm a golfer. I can do that. I can play golf.
Play golf now.
So did you you took that job? Oh, so is that it's not your husband? No. But you do all the social media stuff for it.
I do the sales and marketing and get the golf courses on board.
Yeah. Yes. What did you do before that?
Before that I was selling real estate.
I
hadn't sold real estate. So when you said, you used to be a real estate agent, it's like, yes, I know that. I'm so with you on that.
Yeah, I hope they didn't break you though. It's horrific, that industry.
It is a tough industry. It is.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Anyway, I'm pleased I'm not doing that anymore.
We'll wrap up on that. It's been great to have you.
Yeah.
I'll put the links and everything down below, and best of luck with the journey.
Thank you.
Thanks.